Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ruck Maul Podcast. I'm struggling with laptops this week, so I'm looking at one camera recording another one, so bear with me on this one. So this week's episode, we are looking back at this weekend's European rugby. Boys, let's start with Friday night, Gloucester, La Rochelle. I'll be honest, I thought La Rochelle were going to get 50 points at least before this game started. But Gloucester, they hung in, though, tricky lad. They hung in.
Yeah, I think we were quite lucky to stay in it for as long as we did, to be honest. I think there were a couple, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there were a couple of decisions that could have gone their way that didn't. We didn't play particularly well, which seemed to just keep challenging. And then eventually they ran away with it, which they deserved to because they were the better team. But yeah, a little bit more interesting than them just completely rolling us over. So actually made a game of it, which is good.
Yeah, as I say, any team that starts Lamani Bottier in the centre and can pull, like, they didn't even start Gregory Aldry. That's like what I was getting across in our WhatsApp chat. They had Dumaru on the bench as well, like as a backup. Crazy. Like Will Skelton in the second row was absolutely brilliant. Gordon was the standing. He was absolutely fantastic. I'd say La Rochelle are probably up there with the favourites for the title at the moment. They are a well put together, well organised little outfit. So
yeah, I do wonder. Sorry, as you say, I do wonder if they get made to look better against Gloucester, whether they would have looked that good against a better team. Maybe not, because we still had chances against them. Some that we didn't take, some that we did. But they are a good team, and they have got some superstars across the pitch. But there's going to be some great matches left to come, I think.
I'd say one thing on them is I'm not overly convinced by our Higher West and Kurt Barlow.
Yeah. They did do some good stuff, but they're not the same superstars you find in the other teams.
Oh, it's just surprising with... Go on. Sorry,
particularly our Higher West is very much, or at least was when he was at the Blues, he was that kind of 10 who would play exactly to the level of the team around him. And I think it seems like in the system of this La Rochelle team, that's probably enough. He's got the sort of base level ability to utilise the rest of the team. I agree there's probably a ceiling on what they can do, but the Challenge Cup is probably within their capabilities. Only need to win 3 games.
They're in the Champions Cup, mate, remember?
Yeah.
They're not in the Challenge Cup.
Of course. Sorry, it was Gloucester that was putting me off there.
Yeah,
which is
mate, I was got put off with Gloucester. I couldn't believe Gloucester was still in it, to be honest. But no, I think they're definitely up there with the better teams. We'll talk about some of the other ones later on, but we should have said to start with, obviously, Leinster Toulon, which is a shame that was off because of a case in the COVID camp, a case of COVID in the Toulon camp. So that means Leinster goes straight through.
And some quite weird admin drama from the EPCR telling Toulon they still had to travel even though they had the positive test, and then telling them at the last minute that they had to call the game, that Toulon couldn't field a team because they didn't have a front row. And I've not explained that in sufficient detail, but I suspect Toulon will be complaining because it feels a bit dodgy. But
I did wonder what that was about. So they were told they had to. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
or at least ended up having to, because the positive test was a front row and they'd done scrummaging training on Friday morning with this guy involved in it. So the whole squad was the whole front row was a close contact.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't just find 6 new front row. You're not allowed to have, you're only allowed to have a certain amount registered in your squad. Do you remember Northampton last season?
Yeah.
Had that problem. where they weren't allowed to register more front row, or at least weren't until the very last minute. Even though they could find the people, that bit was fine. So it's probably a more complicated situation than that, but at the very least, it's annoying that the game didn't go ahead.
Yeah, mess. But let's go through. Very quickly, the European games on that the Challenge Cup on that Friday night. We'll sort of go through in chronological order. So Zebre were 14-0 up, I think, at one point. They were ahead they were ahead over Bath for a while, but Bath came back and took 35-17 victory. So they set up a all-English quarter-final against London Irish, which that's a game. If you want to watch one game for the weekend, watch that for an absolute tense battle. Irish win it in the last minute from a Curtis Rona, but bullies his way over the line after a Hassel Collins 45-metre break. Irish looking good. Cardiff, though, they butchered it. They really there's a thing where they'll look back at it and go, some smarter heads in there might have made an older head maybe made a decision where basically Cardiff had the ball 78 minutes, they're behind by 2 points. They get a penalty advantage. Jared Evans takes the drop goal instead. That gives Irish 2 minutes to attack. Irish win the ball back from the resulting kickoff. Basically end up going the length then. And then still victory, where they probably could have gone back for the penalty. Jared Evans, it was well in range for Jared Evans to kick it over. Didn't take it, so it gave Irish the opportunity to go for the game. But yeah, fantastic back and forth game. Slight concern for Cardiff and the Lions is that Josh Navidi looks very injured. He walked off on the last play. I think he got sandwiched at the bottom of the ruck, tackling Hassel Collins on the line. Looks like he's dislocated. He's either broken his collarbone or he's dislocated his shoulder because he was walking off with that classic rugby incident underneath the arm thing. So that's nasty. So, but he was, again, awesome in that game. By far the best player on the pitch. Yeah, it's a shame because I think on that performance, you'd put him some more credit to go towards the Lions. So that sets up Irish Bath. And then you had Montpellier beat Glasgow 26-21. A side who they've not had a great year, Montpellier, in the top 14. But a good win in Europe. So Saturday, back over into the Champions Cup then. Living out, Wasps. That was an absolute cracker of a game against Clermont. Wasps looking a little bit back to their best. Paolo Adoglu showed Eddie Jones why I don't hold tackle bags for 8 weeks, Eddie, with an unbelievable pace. And he scored an absolute cracker where he ran over 3 people in the corner. Even including Damien Pinot, but his foot was in touch. Wasp looked very good, a little bit back to their best. But Clermont found a nice little way in Matsushima, who I think has been absolutely brilliant for them. I was a little bit worried that Matsushima was going to struggle for Clermont. I don't know how much pace he was going to get in the top 14 in a player like that. He needs as much space as he can, but he was absolutely brilliant. Clermont will be there again, there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think it would be. I saw somebody said this, and I've certainly not thought of it myself, having not watched the game. But it would be strangely prophetic if this year, where Clermont they have a good team, but not a stunning team, where 1 to 23 is better than the opposition. If they ended up going on to win it this year, having failed with much more illustrious squads than this. They've got good players in positions where it matters, and you can see them. You can find scenarios where they could beat anybody, just to sort of good enough to turn up and see what happens. I think it could be quite interesting run-in for them.
And a side that's going to push them all the way is Toulouse. Toulouse, not many sides go over to Munster, Thomond Park in Europe and win, scoring 4 tries away from home. That's a hugely impressive victory for Toulouse. Standout player for me in that game. It was interesting, first of all, to see that both the Arnold brothers started in the second row together, which is always quite nice to see. They had crossed back, obviously, at 6, and Kano started at 8. But someone to watch for the future for the French wing berth is Lebel. Oh, he's absolutely sat down JJ Harahan, which is using feet alone to set up a DuPont try. He looks really, really exciting. Cyril Bay again, and Roshan was absolutely fantastic. Toulouse. I'll put some money on Toulouse to go and win this thing. I think those that can go away to Munster and win is a decent feat. Munster didn't look bad, stuck in the game. Keefel scored 2 early tries. It was nice to see Joey Carberry back. Conor Murray looked a little bit more energised, which is good. Look out for Coombs in the back row. He was good. Young lad. Someone to watch out for the future. So all good there. But no. Lebel, someone to watch out for in the Toulouse front. Exeter absolutely put Lyon to bed. I'm just counting up the tries they scored. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tries, including a penalty. It was pretty close. It was pretty close at one point, and then I turned the TV back on, and they absolutely rinsed through them. I just can't look. It's really harsh, but I just don't understand how Exeter can put all those points on with a player like Ian Whitton in that team. I know it's harsh, but but Exeter amazing. I just look at this team now, and I just don't like. You look back at the Toulouse team and La Rochelle names who were just running off, and you look at this Exeter team, and there's some fantastic players in there. Don't get me wrong, like you've got Stuart Hoggins there, Stardust, but you've just got some solid players in there that are playing way above their station. I think Tom O'Flaherty, Ollie Woodburn again were brilliant. Ollie Devoto is absolutely solid in that 12 berth. You sprinkle that in with Johnny Gray and Hill, and you can bring off Skinner off the bench. Like, it's a really, really decent little Exeter team. And again, they want to defend their title.
Yeah, I mean, it's Exeter. They haven't lost really anything. They haven't gained an awful amount on last year. They're just sort of another year together as a group. Some of them are a year older, as you say, Whitton. Some of the forwards, particularly the front row, but it's managing. They're doing fine. I haven't really got a lot to say because I didn't watch the game.
Just to rattle off the remaining European games then from that Saturday, Super Saturday. Benetton did it for the Pro 14. I think the Pro 14 teams, apart from Leinster obviously got through, didn't really give them a good account, and Ulster obviously beating Quins in the Challenge Cup. It wasn't a great weekend for Pro 14 rugby overall. It sort of shows a little bit in the class difference between the Premiership and the top 14 and Pro 14. So hopefully the South African teams can come in and make it a bit more competitive. But anyway, Benetton got past a very poor Argent team that are really struggling in the top 14. I mean, they are rock bottom. So, I mean, they were always going to win that game. Newcastle went a good result for them. They went away to Ospreys and won. Some nice tries in that. Northampton also went away to the Dragons and got a good result, 43-39, absolute tri-fest down there. And Leicester, from watching that, just sort of bullied their way past Connacht. All in all, the English sides overall were pretty good. You obviously then moved to Sunday. Racing absolutely destroyed Edinburgh. Not a great weekend again for Scottish Rugby, 56-3. Sale, I don't know if you've seen a lot of the Sale game. I've only seen the highlights of this, but Sale looked very, 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 very good. The interesting one out of that one, have you seen Jake Ball absolutely take off Faf de Klerk's head? And he didn't even there was nothing. I don't think even a penalty was given. That was ridiculous.
And also almost destroy his standing knee, which would have been very bad.
Yeah. It was straight contact to the head. He was in a really awkward position, could have been a really nasty injury for his knee. The ball was still in the ruck, so he's offside, and he's playing the 9. He couldn't have done more wrong. And as I was saying to Harry just before he came on, I'm not sure what else the referee is looking at, because at the time, the ball is just in the ruck. He's just quite clearly about to take a box kick. I'm not sure what else he's looking at. And not only did he miss it, the TMO didn't say anything. They didn't come back and look at it. They just played on. It's just utterly bizarre. There's so much went wrong and it could have been so bad and nothing happened.
I can't remember who was refereeing that game, but yeah, they didn't cover themselves in glory, as opposed to I can't remember his name. Andrew, what's his name? It's a Scottish referee, but it's completely gone out of my mind. The referee, Bordeaux Bristol, who took about 5 minutes on every decision, but at least he got them right. Was it Andrew Brace? Brace?
He's Irish, but he's very good.
No, it's not him. It's the Scottish guy, but I can't remember for the life of me remember it was. Whatever his name. Anyway, either way, our beloved Bordeaux lads. It was nice to see us back at the mighty. I can't remember what it's called, but I miss it.
Oui. Yeah.
Oh, Jalibert. Oh, from Bordeaux point of view, Jefferson Poirot, who's retired from international rugby. I mean, Cyril Bay is one of the best loose heads in the world right now, but Poirot could still go. He was a turnover animal. Every ruck, he was just there. He was absolutely fantastic. I think my player of the week was Buros at 15 for Bordeaux. He was absolutely superb. Considering we didn't have Cordero or Delgi in the 23, Falataya Moafa, he's usually a centre, was playing on the wing, but Buros was absolutely phenomenal at the back. Really, really good. Bristol didn't really get going, really. I think the refereeing didn't help. The game was very slow, but the Purdy try in the first half was lovely. Just quick hands across, Randrandra putting it through the hands and scoring in the corner was lovely. But yeah, Bordeaux.
Yeah, they're very good. This was one of the games where I had heard whisperings of another slightly weird refereeing decision. I think there's a Jalibert try.
Yes. Yeah, the Jalibert try was very weird because there was no grounding. But then the TMO said he could see grounding, but all the video evidence that they were shown was there was no grounding. And the referee, on-field decision was no try because he couldn't see any grounding. Went to the TMO and said he could see grounding, but all the videos that we saw, there was no grounding. So it was very weird. And there was a few other ones that were weird where I think they brought it back for there was a potential. I think it was the Dweba try where Callum Sheedy, who didn't really cover himself in glory, he was captain in that game, but he just wouldn't shut up. Every single decision he was shouting at the ref, so he didn't really cover himself in glory. I think John Afoa was missed really. Though John Afoa was on the bench, I think he probably could have taken over the captaincy. Obviously, they missed the calm head of Stephen Lure too. I think Callum Sheedy got a little bit trigger happy and he got told off a couple of times for coming over. But it was a weird one because Piers O'Connor started on the bench and they started Leua, who is more of a winger than a 12. I think the reason why they wanted it because he was up against Lamarat, who is, Lamarat that skips all kinds of leg day. I've never seen a bloke that old, but he's quite old now. I think he's late 20s, isn't he? Early 30s, I think. But he is so top heavy, but flipping out, he's brutal. He was good. Ben Lamb got a bit of space. So obviously, Pat Lamb's nephew, obviously going to move to Bristol and when his contract at Bordeaux goes. That is just a rumour, but it will probably happen because he's in the North Hemisphere and his uncle's there, so why not? Karen Woking was good again, like we always say. Jalibert was class. Bordeaux. All I'm going to say. And then to top it all off, because we had so much rugby, I mean, I'd given up by rugby at that point because I watched too much. I'd kind of come overloaded. I watched Top Gear instead. But Ulster, oh dear, they absolutely smashed Quins. Quins, I've got a bit of a problem with this. I think you might have a different opinion, and that's absolutely fine. Quins put out a second team, quite obviously a second team, that hadn't played for a while. So Nathan Earl hadn't played for a while. James Lang hadn't played. Northmore, who's played a bit, was on the wing. Kyle Green got a first run at 15. Nasiki and Takwai both played. They hadn't played for a while. Brett Heron hasn't played for God knows. Started a game. Steele was back. They had Garcia Botia, Alia, Collier. Like, it was basically, especially in the forwards anyway, they had Tizard, Hammond, White all on debut, Kennington on debut, Lorde, who's normally a 6, at 8. And yeah, up against a pretty much Irishy Ulster team, they got put away. So they're clearly focused on the Premiership. But Quins they're the best team in that European Challenge Cup. They probably could have gone and win the whole thing, and I just think they've prioritised the Premiership, which is fine if they want to do that. But if I was a Quins fan, I'd be a bit annoyed.
I think, no, for Quins this year, the sort of confluence of other teams not doing well and Quins right in a sweet spot of when they can, like, if you think about those playoffs of the Premiership, it's literally 2 games. And
yeah.
Quins can beat anybody. If it's, particularly when it's hot and sunny, hard ground, that's really going to suit Quins. And I think they should, I think I did say this last week. I think this is the right decision to go all out for the Premiership. They won't get this opportunity again, or such a good opportunity again. Yeah. Very soon, I think.
Speaking of a fan of a team who won the Challenge Cup a couple of years ago, I think Gloucester won it in maybe 2016-17. Didn't really care, if I'm completely honest. It's obviously great to win the Champions Cup. I think that's a really, really big achievement. It's something that everybody remembers if your team's won that. The Challenge Cup is a little bit of something for the other teams to play in. And whilst it's great to win it, I think it's definitely more important to focus on the Premiership. Other people might have different views on that, but yeah, I think Quins have got a good opportunity if they play well the next few matches in the Premiership.
Well, Bristol won it last year, didn't they? And that was good, but it's not what that squad is built for. It's not why they're all there. Semi Radradra didn't go to Bristol to win the Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
So in the same way, I think it is. The club see it as a more high profile prize.
Well, on Quins, while we're there, Mike Brown's leaving. He's going to North Newcastle. Yes. That's the only real big transfer that I've got this week. I couldn't really remember if anyone else has really come in, but no, Mike Brown to Newcastle, 35 he is. We've kind of spoken a little bit about this before, but now it's actually done. Thoughts?
Well, done, and a bit more detail about the mechanics of how Mike Brown was told. Apparently it was a 4-minute meeting where he was told that he was leaving after 15 plus years of first team. Their record appearance holder.
Wow.
Just, yeah.
Sounds very Quins, that, though, if I'm honest.
Very modern Quins, yes. And they even the decision was made under Gustard, and then after Gustard left, Brown went back to the CEO and the board and said, I haven't signed another contract yet. You sure about this? I like it here. Mm-hmm. And they didn't change their minds. They didn't see that he's playing as well as he's played since he got a job for England. Never mind the human aspect. As a player, they should keep him. But very...
I think I think this basically then opens up the door that we basically know that Nick David is going to come in and replace him. Because I don't think that meeting is that short if they don't already have Nick David signed, pretty much.
Well, that could be the thing. That would be the only reason where I think, from a playing point of view, where I think it would be justified, because then you would have Green and David both really talented for the next 4. Well, obviously, knowing rugby contracts, that wouldn't be the case, but really talented players who can cover 15. You don't need Brown in that case, but as in the player, but as the guy, surely you don't want to get rid of him.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think he is Quinn's through and through, and he's part of that. As part of the Rob Shaw, Kerr, Marler sort of ilk that won the Premiership, though all those years ago now. But a fantastic squad of young English players, sort of breaking the mould in that sense. I think it just sounds very Quinn's that they just got rid of him, and they obviously Nick David is the hottest property in sort of English rugby at the moment. If you're going to sign anyone at the moment, you want to be signing him. He's a fantastic player. Do Newcastle benefit that much from him, playing wise? Off the pitch, definitely, 100%. He's going to bring some fantastic atmosphere. Playing wise in this Quinn's teams look brilliant, and I think, but he's helped because Quinn's are playing that well. I don't know whether will that translate to Newcastle. Do you think?
I think it'll help get the best out of Radwan and Carreras to start with, as the other two in that back three. It will cover for their weaknesses, Radwan's not that young anymore, but Carreras is obviously really very young and quite inexperienced as a sort of top level back three player in terms of covering the backfield. Whether it's necessary is a sort of slightly separate question, but I don't think they'll regret signing him. If Quins weren't offering him a contract, then there won't have been a bidding war, for example. They won't be being paid very much. I think it's a reasonably, not zero risk, obviously, but I think it's a smart thing to do. Because it's tempting, and obviously what Quins have done here is got a bit Moneyball. It's tempting to think about rugby in that sense, particularly with academy credits and English qualified player credits for the salary cap and stuff like that. But if you can get a guy who's going to play well for a 1 or 2 year contract, then he's going to play well. And I
expect this is going to be a 1 year deal.
The end goal. That's what Moneyball is about. It's about exploiting the undervalued players on the market. And Mike Brown is undervalued because he's been one of the best players for a team that's in the top 4 of the Premiership this year. So I think it's a really good signing. Even if he is quite old.
Yeah, I think, especially with this Newcastle team at the moment, yeah, I've kind of not got a lot anything else to say on that, to be honest. Some sign of this, I've just looked back at, looking around if there's anything else. I'd forgotten this one. This sort of slipped under our radar, which caused a little bit of a controversy in Irish circles. In the Ireland circle anyway, is that Munster have replaced CJ Sander with Jason Jenkins, who's the South African second row. He's one capped by the Springboks, 6'7", 122 kg, so big boy. He's sort of coming in to cover CJ Sander and also Billy Holland, who I think is retiring. It's another South African lad that's joining Munster. Obviously, after they've had, they've obviously got RJ Snyman already at the moment and Damien Delande, but they've also had Arno Botha, Jaco Taylor and Grant Gobler there. So it's divided opinion. Keith Wood's been quite critical, said that that's not the right message. They should be developing an Irish player, but at the same time, I still think he might be useful.
Yeah, I think you've got to trust Johan van Graan at this point in terms of what makes Munster a better team on the pitch, and he's got no personal need to see Ireland develop players, although it's probably part of his job description. One thing that is quite interesting about it, and that I think his name is Alex Shaw, the guy who does a lot of the talent scouts, England age group talent scouting, and now works for Ealing, talked about the Japanese league being a source of talent for particularly the Premiership, and that it's currently not recognised as an elite league for immigration purposes, because you have to be currently playing in an elite league to make it easier to move over, sort of similar to how the football system works. Japanese league is currently not designated like that, but Jenkins is coming from Toyota Verblitz and has obviously been playing well there. There's talent there, and if only Pro 14 teams are going to target them, then it could be an issue for the Premiership clubs. But yeah, good on them. Obviously not ideal that he'll never end up playing for Ireland, but I don't care. Personally.
Well, you might care about this signing, because it was rumoured. Well, I put this in the chat already, so this is not going to shock you, but it might shock the listeners. This will lead us lovely on Super Rugby Aotearoa, but Lani Laumape to Stade Francais to replace Gael Fickou. Imagine.
Is it is Stade Francais Capri's son, or is that Racing 92? Because I think the All Blacks are all right for, I mean, not cash certainly, but for sugary drinks. I don't think, as I said on our WhatsApp group, I don't think that will be the right decision for Laumape, but it'd be great for Stade. He's particularly the type of player who, I know they're doing a bit better this year, but they're not as good as they have been in the past, let's say.
They're not.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So not really not as good, but he's the kind of player who can really elevate a slightly underperforming team. He is, well, should be doing right now, but isn't. It's, yeah, unlikely, but would be fun.
We'll come back to the Blues Hurricanes in a moment, because game of the weekend, and something that in our household, obviously because my wife's from New Zealand, which she still cannot get over, as our beloved Highlanders have absolutely beaten the Crusaders in Christchurch for, I think, the first time in 12 or 15 years, I think it was. And they just beat them by 3 points. They've absolutely annihilated them. I can't believe it. I'm still in shock. You watched the game, didn't you? You watched the full game live, didn't you, Harry? I've only seen the highlights. It was beautiful.
Difficult to really explain what happened, other than it wasn't like the Crusaders played badly. They just played like a normal, mortal rugby team. And at the key moments where it mattered, Highlanders got turnovers and just completely took away the spark of the Crusaders' attack. The moments when Taylor and Havili scored their tries for the Crusaders, you thought, okay, you've had your fun. Let's see what the Crusaders normally do, but just didn't keep going. Very unlikely scorers for the Highlanders. Highlanders with sort of half of their B team playing after the 4 players were disciplined. Aaron Smith not even starting. It's
nuts.
Very nuts. Obviously, I say that about Aaron Smith. Fola Fakatave is the real deal. He's seriously good. And I'm glad that they're trusting him to start this year. But yeah, no. Scott Gregory, stopped to try, having been basically incapable of doing anything in most of the other time days. You've got to be pleased about that if you're a Hurricanes fan, Highlanders fan. Sorry.
What result?
Jimeno with his first start.
Yeah.
Got a couple of those really key goal line turnovers. Didn't do too much carrying the ball, but then, it feels weird to say this, but sort of nobody did for the Highlanders. It wasn't like they had massive line breaks or sort of scored breakaway tries to rack up the points. They just built and built and built and scored from moves. And yeah, they just played well. Just a normal rugby game where one team wins and one team doesn't.
I was thinking on Michael Collins. Is Michael Collins? He's moving north, isn't he? He's coming to the Northern Hemisphere, isn't he?
I don't know. He's a weird one.
Because there's room. I thought he'd signed for the Ospreys, or is he signed for one of the Welsh teams?
Could well have.
One of them's going up there. Who is it? Oh, it's Josh Mackay's going up there. He's going to Glasgow, isn't he? Josh Mackay.
Yes.
But I don't know whether he's gone or not, Michael Collins, yet. But yeah, he looked from what I saw of the game, looked very, very good.
Well,
I still can't really believe it, to be honest.
But that's the thing. Michael Collins is not that good. He's not special. He was a 15/cover winger until this season, who was safe under the high ball and defended reasonably competently, but was otherwise sort of not a normal New Zealand Super Rugby fullback. And they've moved into 13 this year, and it's working. Yeah. You've got. I think the Highlanders coach is doing a really good job. He's got Tony Brown. He's got some good players, but
he's a clever man. He's a clever man.
Yeah.
Because I'm just looking, before we move on, I'm just looking at this team again. And George Bridge came out for the Crusaders. They had Sevu Reece on the bench. That team, that Crusaders team is mad. When you compare that to the Highlanders team, and I was I just don't understand they've won that game with that team. With all due respect to them, that is not their best team, as we've already highlighted. But Mitch Hunt really stood up. Mitch Hunt's goal kicking style is really interesting. Really interesting how he just manages to get so much power off literally a 2-step.
Yeah, you have absolutely zero confidence because it looks unlike almost anyone else playing at the moment.
And the angle that he kicks at as well, it's
sort of diagonal kicking across the ball almost. Very weird. But yeah, it works, and it's quite weird because he again, I remember, I think 2 seasons ago, we were very, this Mitch Hunt guy is quick, but otherwise not that good. And then last season, we all said, maybe he's got something, particularly when he spelled in at 10 and then moved Ioane to 15. And while we did think, Ioane was probably the more talented 10. Hunt was certainly doing a good job. And now this year, I think Ioane's behaviour standards aside, I think it would be pretty reasonable to say that Hunt is actually playing better and the better player.
As I say, I think Josh Ioane is going to sign for a foreign team. I
think he's gone now. Yeah.
I don't see him. He's not in the New Zealand running. That obviously the incident that they had this week hasn't probably helped his case. He's 25 now, I think. Is he 24, 25? So he could easily go and come back if he wanted to, but also he's another a higher West. Oh God, they're all gone. Colin Slade. These type of a New Zealand, not in the same bracket as maybe the playing style, but New Zealand fly halves that aren't going to get capped by the All Blacks long term, that will go to Europe and make money. And do you know what I mean? That's the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
I think he
would be destined to be a James O'Connor, although maybe not with the glorious return. I think he's a seriously good player with issues about taking it seriously enough off the pitch. But that's his prerogative, regrettably. But yeah, no, I think he'll turn up at a Northern European club and do very well.
Yeah. We talked obviously a lot about the young lads like Ruben Love and stuff at the start on the preview pod of Super Rugby Aotearoa, but someone that sort of went under my radar and who's actually generally very impressed me is Conor Garner-Masher for the Highlanders at 15. Looks very good. And someone I've never really, obviously, he's the brother of, I've now forgotten his first name, but Jackson Garner-Masher, sorry, there we go. But yeah, he looks good little player. Someone to keep an eye out for.
Very good. Big, quick enough, makes good decisions. Probably not an All Black long term, but one of those really good Super Rugby players that, if again, sort of really sad to say this for every player who does well for a Super Rugby team, but if he were to choose to come north, could do very well for himself.
Yes. And then finally, to wrap this up really this week, the Blues Hurricanes 27-17. I've seen the highlights. My opinion of the game would be that it looked more like a Northern Hemisphere style game with a bit of brilliance for, I can't remember who scored the first try, but the bit of brilliance, a nice line. Oh no, it was TJ Garney's try, wasn't it? Missed tackle. And then a bit of brilliance from Rico Ioane to set up Mark Talaire in the corner. But apart from that, nothing really happened. Is that a fairer view?
This was a grind it out, and one team got 2 moments and scored 2 tries, and the other team didn't. The Blues scrum struggled more than it usually does, which was a bit worrying. And it's Carl, mainly after Carl. Let's have a run up at pronouncing this one. Tuinkuafe.
I actually had it then. I was going to say it then. Isn't it Carl Tunganafe? Isn't it that one? Tricky. He's the best. Tricky's the best one at pronouncing.
Sadly, I can't do this one.
Anyway, big Carl with the fantastic moustache. Has played for the All Blacks. He got a really nasty bang right on the kneecap, and I think scans sort of yet to reveal what the extent of any damage is, but it looked pretty sore and caused a reasonably long stoppage. So if he's out for an extended period of time. Alex Hodgman is quite good, who came on, but he's like the body of a flanker playing prop. And is a sort of very specific substitute in Super Rugby type loose head rather than a player.
I like Alex Hodgman.
Oh, yeah,
he was really good last year.
Yes, he's just not as good at scrummaging as a lot of people. Certainly an asset to the squad. I wouldn't want him to leave, but yeah, it's a slightly weaker scrummager. So hopefully Carl's all right. Otherwise, pretty solid from the Blues. Otero Black with some very good goal kicking, very reliable. Kicked the Blues chose with the last kick of the game to go for 3 points to deny the Hurricanes the losing bonus point. So good there. So Tom Robinson was captaining for the first time. Some good on-field decision making from him there. Otherwise, reasonably uneventful. But 4 points. The real thing is, in terms of the table, that if the Blues beat the Crusaders in the return fixture, then they'll go ahead of them. Now, with the Crusaders having lost the game as well. So far, it's Crusaders 1-4, lost 1, Blues 1-3, lost 2. So that game, they've got the same number of bonus points somehow. So the real thing is that Blues Crusaders game suddenly becomes important again, which is good.
Good stuff. Right, last little bit, chaps. 1 minute. Games for next weekend. Just want a team answer. So Challenge Cup Friday night, Bath at the Rec versus Irish. Who's going to win?
Let's back Irish.
Yeah. I mean...
Oh my God, you're going to back Irish. This is huge. That never happened. Come on, Irish. Irish to win.
Yeah,
got
I
to
wish...
play that. Go on.
Just to be clear, I wish every professional failure on Paddy Jackson, so I hope that it goes terribly.
Brilliant.
But as a rugby team, Bath have not been doing very well recently, and London Irish have. So,
yeah,
I think one thing is more likely than the other.
I'm just pleased you said Irish for once, because you never say Irish, so thank you. La Rochelle Sale, Champions Cup, Saturday, 3:00. It's in La Rochelle.
As bad as Scarlets were, Sale were very good. So if Sale play in the same way, then they could win it. But I think it'll be close. Two very good teams.
I'm going La Rochelle.
Sale can win that game.
They've been in before in this competition, so it's not a foregone, especially after this was, as you say, tricky this weekend's result against Scarlet. So I'm still going La Rochelle, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sale win. Exeter, Leinster, probably game of the weekend, especially that Saturday, 5:30 Champions Cup.
In Exeter.
That is in Exeter. It's Leinster, sorry. I don't know if I said that wrong.
Well, yeah. I think depends, isn't it? If Exeter play the way they always do, then they've obviously got a very good chance. But they've also not played that well in recent weeks. So, yeah, be interesting.
Leinster not playing last week. Obviously, they played Munster the week before in the Pro 14, but they're not at European power yet. Obviously, they've got their Irish players back. I don't know. Give me Exeter. Come on. Let's back the Brits. Come on. Back the English. Exeter to win. But by 3, it'd be really close. All English quarterfinal European Cup 12:30. Tigers Newcastle. Tigers just beat Newcastle in the Premiership last week, 2 weeks ago. So bear that in mind.
think
Long pause.
with Ford and that back, if they play well, then I think Leicester will win.
I'll go Leicester.
Yeah. I think that's probably right.
Montpellier, Benetton. Montpellier at home, I think.
Yeah.
Should be fine.
Yeah.
And Northampton, Ulster, which is actually going to be which is going to be a good game, I think. I see Ulster doing that. If they get the team selection right, I see Ulster doing that.
Yeah, Northampton are very capable of losing.
Mm-hmm.
And then European Champions Cup on the Sunday, our beloved Bordeaux Beglers versus Racing 92 at Bordeaux. Come on, Bordeaux.
What?
Yeah, we've got to back them, but that is going to be a tough game.
I think Racing, my heart says Bordeaux, my head says Racing.
I agree.
But I want to be proved wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
And finally, Clermont Toulouse at Clermont. I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if Clermont win, then something special could happen, but I think it's quite likely.
A lot of away victories now, which is maybe against the grain, but we'll see. As I say, we'll review those games next weekend and those from Super Rugby, Aotearoa. I'd like to do something on the MLR next week. We ran out a bit of time because the MLR has been pretty good. I've been watching a couple of snippets online of that, so it'd be nice to catch up about some of the MLR stuff and a bit of top league in Japan to sort of change up. Would be quite good. So stay tuned for that. As I say, if you don't already subscribe on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us some feedback, follow us on Instagram as well, and have a nice rest of your half term. And we'll see you next week.
See you later.